Hello and welcome to another episode of Straight from the Heart. I do want to say this is Women's History Month, and I'm really excited to introduce our guests. In Kansas City, we have a lot going on, and we have a lot of women who have stepped up in first-time positions, and some of the positions that we're stepping into are very serious, very, I guess you can say high visible, and we're put in situations where we have to make decisions that don't make everyone happy. So today's guest is going to be someone that we're going to talk about that has moved in the ranks, who understands a lot about Kansas City and its history. And she is in the hot seat sometimes, but I think she can handle it. I'm Kim Davis, your host, and you're watching Straight from the Heart. Today, I am happy to introduce my friend. I'll sometimes call her daughter.
Yes.
And I am so very proud and so very excited to introduce to you our, prosecuting attorney in Kansas City, Jackson County prosecuting attorney, Miss Melesa Johnson.
Thank you so much for having me, Mama Kim.
Now we can cut the formalities are over.
Yes.
We're going to get down to business.
Let's do it.
So, first of all, I want to just kind of draw back and let's talk about you. Let's talk about who is Melesa Johnson? Where did Melesa Johnson come from? What does Melesa Johnson, if you were to say, this is Melesa Johnson, and this is what you get, what would we see?
Oh, that is a great question, but obviously a loaded question, right? Like, I am a proud daughter of Kansas City, born and raised here. I had an amazing childhood. I had the privilege of being raised in a family where I always knew on whose shoulders I stand. No matter if I was in middle school or on Generation Rap or running for student government in high school, my family took a lot of time and intention to instill a very healthy sense of self-worth and belonging. And, I was a little goody two-shoes. I was a straight A student.
Of course.
But then outside of school, you got a little bit more duality. I am a lifelong athlete. I'm a proud product of the 3rd District, which, as you know, if you know anything about Kansas City, is one of our most dangerous and violent areas, not only in Kansas City, but in Jackson County more broadly. So for better or worse, I know crime, Miss Kim. I've had friends that I've lost to gun violence, friends that have made poor decisions, even family members that have seen themselves under the weight of the criminal justice system. But because of that personal upbringing, I think I have this innate ability to differentiate between people who do need strict accountability, but who also need a second chance and a real shot at opportunity. I am a lawyer, of course, a lawyer by trade, but a public servant by passion. And so now to be in this situation, serving as Jackson County prosecutor, where I get to marry those two very important pieces of myself, my legal education, my legal experience, but also my understanding of policy, my understanding of systems change, and being able to lead an office of about 176 people at, in some people's eyes, the tender age of 36 years old. I'm having the time of my life. So that's a little bit about who Melesa Johnson is.
So let me throw something out at you, America, or all my viewers, because I found out I have viewers outside of the country. Yay. I want to say this. A lot of times people look at the 3rd District, the 5th District. We're considered the urban core. And the expectation is prosecuting attorneys don't come out of the 3rd or the 5th District. They don't become attorneys. They don't grow up in an area that's high crime. That everybody that lives in those districts are people that are either poor or uneducated or on drugs or selling drugs. It's always the negative connotation. And I always like to bring back, and I know it's a little off of what we were just saying, but I always want to bring back that there are families that are living in these districts that are raising prominent people and kids that are going to school and that are being straight A students.
Yes.
And kids that are athletes and headed to college. So kudos to you for representing the 3rd District. So I do want to get back to what we were talking about. Wearing this jacket, people have a tendency to think, you're from the hood.
Mm-hmm.
You're from the hood. So if something happens in the hood, you're supposed to have our backs. It's kind of like, I think about when Barack Obama became president, it's almost like he became the black savior. And when he wasn't that, now he's, being ridiculed across the country. The same kind of thing could be said for people who the expectation is, hey, that's our homegirl. I got our homegirl. I went and voted when I don't vote for my homegirl because she's going to fix my situation.
Right. Right.
How do you deal with that?
It is an ongoing journey. It's definitely an ongoing journey. But what I would say in response to people that do think like that, and like you mentioned, there is a healthy swath of people that do, I do have your backs.
Yeah.
I just might not have it in the way that you would like me to.
Come on.
Right?
Come on.
When we talk about still to this day in 2026, the lion's share of our homicides, our non-fatal shootings are still concentrated in 2 councilmatic districts.
Mm-hmm.
We have to have some tough conversations. And honestly, those conversations need to be what my grandmother always said is in-house. You know how you don't go around
that's right,
telling everybody all your familial business and what happened between you and your siblings and whose auntie was doing what. You keep that in the family.
Right.
We need to confront some issues that we have in our family.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
And so, I will always do this job in a way that is just and fair and transparent. But when you want me to have a place that I call homes back, that's going to look a little bit differently. So no, that's not slaps on the wrist. That's not giving get out of jail free cards. That means accountability, but that also means investment, but real investment, right?
Yeah.
We're not throwing, $5 here, $5 there, right?
Yeah.
We need to really look at the modern root causes of crime, create more opportunities and expand our treatment courts and our diversion courts. But should you squander an opportunity that we lay at your feet, you're going to leave me no option because I have your back. And that's my version of having our community, specifically the urban cores, back.
Yeah. Well, and I would say this. Think about this. Choices.
Yes.
We make choices. You chose to go to school, be a straight A student, be a top athlete, to be able to utilize what you were given to go to college, not just get a degree, get a law degree, become an attorney, and then work in several high profile positions. And it was a choice that you made. It wasn't like you weren't in the same environment or could have made an opposite choice, because you could have. And there have been people that have made those choices, but have been accountable.
Yes.
And have changed what they were doing because they understand I can make a better choice.
Exactly.
So when I look at, there was something that just came about. Everyone's in an uproar right now because of the law allowing one of the, and I will say, suspect victims, because if you look at the law says he was standing his ground. So that means victim. So he was a suspect because his firearm, or what he fired, was a fatal shot. But the reason he fired was he was standing his ground.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to understand that there's a law that's in place that we may not like. There's a whole lot of laws in place that we don't like. And not all laws, and I'm going to say this from my point of view, and I can say it, and can't nobody say I've never been there, because I have. There are laws that, yes, are systematic laws that cause harm to some group of people, but not others.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you break the law, the law is the law. And we cannot expect the people that look like us, who have sworn to uphold the law, to break the law in order to appease our situation. And we have to always remember that if I want you to have my back, I got to have your back.
Exactly. And, just one point of clarification, all of the available evidence that we have at our disposal, we were not able to definitively identify which shot was the fatal shot.
I'm so glad you cleared that up.
Yes. And I think that is an important fact for the community to know. But, you're absolutely right. Listen, when crime is out of control or there's a high profile criminal incident, who are usually the very small subset of people that are taken to task? It is the mayor. It is usually the chief of police. And then it's me, right?
Yeah.
But that disregards the hundreds of people that sit in our state legislature.
Yeah.
That disregards our school systems. That disregards our truant officers. That disregards all of the private developers that funnel money into very specific parts of our community and continue to neglect others. Listen, crime lives at the intersection of so much that needs to change.
Yeah.
And one prosecutor's office, one mayor, one chief of police, or one leader of the Heartland Black Chamber is not going to change everything in isolation. But what we can do is what my office attempted to do recently, is to confront an issue, make the decision that we are required and ethically bound to make under the law, but then get on our soapbox with our bullhorn and message to the community that this is why these things have to change. The parade shooting is not the only case in which I've had to confront defense of others or self-defense or stand your ground doctrines. I constantly have to sit before families and explain to them that we are unable to charge their loved one suspect, the defendant in that case, because Missouri has some of the most expansive stand your ground, self-defense, and defense of others laws in the country. And then in response to that, I often hear, well, why don't you just roll the dice and take it to trial? Well, as a prosecutor, I don't get to roll the dice. I have too much power in the criminal justice system, arguably the most power in the entire system. What we charge on the front end dictates the range of punishment on the back end, dictates and creates parameters of the decisions that judges can make or juries can make later on down the line. I don't roll the dice with that responsibility.
Yes.
I am elected and all of our prosecutors are sworn to uphold the law. And so if you are frustrated about how many cases we've had to decline due to self-defense laws, last year I believe it was somewhere around 57 cases.
Wow.
If you are frustrated about that, let's channel your frustration to the laws that govern these cases and not the prosecutors and judges that are sworn to follow them.
Absolutely. And you know what? That is so important because I think about the mandatory minimums of the 80s and 90s and 2000s. One of our big problems, and we do this a lot, we want to jump on this soapbox and demand that things change, but we don't demand it from the people that can make the change. And we don't go to the voting polls, we don't go where we can put people in position to fight for those laws. We have no agenda. We just all want to scream and holler. And I want to say this to you, being in a position that you are having to make decisions that a lot of people are not going to like, it's not going to be popular, but you're going to do the right thing at the end of the day. As a citizen, and I'm going to step out of my mama hat because that's a biased hat, but as a citizen, I would want fairness and I would want the absolute, if I know the law is on my side, I would want the law to be upheld. And so thinking about how we can make a change and stop flooding your phone with issues that you can't even handle. They're not your issues. Your job is, you have a job description.
Yes.
And your job description says what?
That we are called to prosecute crime.
And in prosecuting crime, there's a way that you can only prosecute that crime.
Exactly.
You can say, I saw this guy actually run this girl over, but being able to prosecute, that means I have to have the evidence. I have to
Yes.
have something to prove what I say I saw.
Exactly. A lot of people think that prosecutors are magicians, frankly.
Yeah.
Like a crime has occurred, then miraculously somebody has to be held accountable because that's just how the world is supposed to work. And, from a layperson's perspective, from an everyday community's member's perspective, I can understand that, right?
Yeah.
You think that the police are going to arrest them and then we're going to prosecute them. But it's so much more complex and convoluted than that. And that's why it's been really important for my administration to try to reach our hand out and bring the community into our decision-making processes. Transparency is important. In the first couple of months of my administration, we started an online search tool where people can actually go and plug in their police report number and see where it is in the life cycle of a case. We have dashboards that show you, so you don't have to believe any false or fictitious narratives.
Right.
We have dashboards that show you this is how many cases we've received from law enforcement. This is how many we filed. These are the dispositions. Here are the racial demographics that comport with those statistics.
Wow.
We've done all of that. We've even started a social media online educational series where we walk through bond, we walk through self-defense, we walk through stand your ground, we walk through combat and all of the various aspects of the anatomy of a case. But while we're reaching our hand out, we need the community to reach back and actually be willing to try to understand some of the very difficult decisions that have to be made in that office. With the parade situation, and I can't talk too specifically because we do still have 2 other pending cases, decisions that nobody wants to make, but everybody wants to criticize. And I get it. Like, that's human nature. But we have to take a step back and really read, educate ourselves, equip ourselves with information so that we can understand, okay, while I might not like this decision, I see the roadway and the pathway on how it had to be made.
And I think about this. When we talk about public safety, gun violence, especially in our community, because gun violence is everywhere. It is everywhere. We just had, I don't know if it was a husband or wife or girlfriend, boyfriend. I don't know what they were up north. Murder, suicide, who knows, because they haven't said. But gun violence is rampant in our country, not just in our city. However, I think that we have to stop being critical of the prosecutor's office when we're not critical of the people who know what's going on, the people that are either family members and know who they got in their family. You know your family members. You know who they are.
Right.
And or people that the boy next door or the girl down the street, or because we got girls doing as bad as young men today. When we don't say nothing, we cannot expect things to change in our community.
Absolutely.
And I do want to also bring in our small businesses. We have small businesses, and I drive down Prospect, and I really get discouraged, especially I'm a Kansas Cityan. So I've seen the changes. I remember when St. Joseph Hospital was on that corner where Linwood Shopping Center is. I remember when, that block was thriving, and I remember when it wasn't thriving. And I see so much. When you talk about, I think it was 3 overdoses and it was an overdose and something else happened over off of 27th and was it 27th and Prospect? Just right across the street from the East Patrol.
Right.
When we're so out of control that there's a store or I don't know if the gas station store, and right behind your building, there are people utilizing drugs to the point where they're overdosing, and we're not saying anything. Even as business owners, we also are contributing to the violence and the public safety in our community. We cannot expect there to be a police officer or police officers on every corner at 24/7 watching to see what's going on. We have to do our due diligence too. How do we reach our community? What can Heartland do to be an advocate for your office, to try to get us to go back to being the village we used to be? Because there was a time that if you got into a fist fight, the neighbor was going to call your mama and tell on you after she hit you upside your head.
Exactly. Or the store clerk.
Or
right?
the store
at the convenience
clerk.
store.
That's
because,
right.
Community, frankly, at our core is something that is really missing.
Yeah.
It really is. There's this narrative around new parents, and I don't have any kids, and so I hope I'm not speaking from a place of judgment, but, where new parents don't allow anybody else to readjust their child.
Yeah.
Right. And that certainly was not the environment that I grew up in. Everybody on my grandmother's block had full permission to snatch me up should they need to. Right.
Yes.
And so when we talk about the small business community, when we talk about the community more broadly, we started a renewed and improved crime strategies unit in my office where we have a dedicated team of attorneys that work directly with business conglomerates, business owners, different neighborhood associations, community members, so that you know what your rights are.
Yeah.
You know what available resources are at your disposal. For example, a trespass notice, right? Like we have a houselessness issue in Kansas City. We rank very high in the country. And so we often have these lower level offenses that are associated with houselessness, stealing, theft, loitering, trespassing, those type of things. But we don't have all of the tools with a police department that cannot respond in time, or 911 is putting you on hold. What does it look like if you can use this form and officially trespass somebody under the law? Have that documentation. So should they come back, now you have more options available at your disposal.
Right.
That's some of the work that our office has been engaged in. And so I'll be happy to get you a slate of those resources so you can hand them out to the businesses that work with the Heartland Black Chamber. And you know what? Honestly, Ms. Kim, I just really appreciate that question. I really do, because I think we put so much burden and weight on government institutions, and I'm not playing victim. I signed up for a big girl job and I got it.
And so we're doing it. You're doing a big girl.
And we're doing it. But it takes all of us.
Oh, absolutely.
It really does. And so to have an organization like the Heartland Black Chamber that has such a massive footprint, that is a historic organization in and of itself, wanting to not only drive economic development, but understanding how public safety inherently plays a role in our community's expansion. That's exactly the mindset that I think more sectors in this community need to prescribe to.
Well, we don't want to be just another organization that, and I'm not putting anyone out there, but I'm saying I don't want to become an organization that I'm pointing my fingers at the mayor's office or at the prosecutor's office or at the county legislator's office. I want to say, where's my accountability? I cannot expect, as a chamber leader, and I say this all the time, as a chamber leader, I have to tell my members, I'm here to give you the resources. I'm here to guide you into the right direction. But you have to do your part. And it's the same thing with business owners. You can't just open a shop on a street, and it could be in the best street ever, and not expect to have responsibility of keeping the storefront clean, of making sure that there's no trash and no one loitering in front of your door, or if there's something happening behind your building that you're unaware of, you should become aware because you should be patrolling your building. Everything that occurs within your business sector is your accountability too. The police are only going to come when you call them.
Exactly.
But if you're not calling them, if you're not being proactive and you're being reactive, and then the police department's not doing their job, that's not fair.
Exactly.
And so, as an organization, I go back to accountability. If we're not telling our businesses, you have accountability just like everybody else. You want the police at your beck and call if they run in your store and rob it, or if they break in your store when you're closed and they ransack it, you want the police to be on Johnny on spot. But it's 90% of the time, it's somebody that has been right there, know your movements, know your store, know when you're coming, know when you're going, know when the best time to go in. And you've allowed them to be there because you've allowed them to hang in front of your store. And so, again, there's accountability. And I want to say that it is not only our duty, but it is our pleasure to say, look, we work alongside with the prosecutor's office, the mayor's office, the county's office, because in order for us to get our city back or to even become a part of the city's fabric equally, we've got to gain control of our own area.
Absolutely. Absolutely. More of this.
More of this. More of this. So honestly, I mean, how long is you are in this seat?
For 4 years.
For 4 years, and then you will run again.
Yes.
You will run again. You will run again. And so in your first year, I want to say kudos.
Thank you.
I've kept up. You closed a lot of cases. Nobody talks about the successes and the cases that you've closed. And I want to say kudos.
Thank you.
Because all eyes on you. And to have all eyes on you has to be a lot. But now I want to talk about, we're going to put this on the side for a minute, because another thing that really chaps my hide is when I am every blue moon, because I'm not a big social media person, but I will go on Facebook because of the chamber stuff. And I will capture someone who has taken something you posted and criticized your personal life.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Melesa's personal life, because everybody won't be in your business.
Yeah.
Are you not supposed to have a personal life when you become a prosecutor?
Apparently to some. And listen, it's not lost on me that I don't fit the typical mold or the typical demographic of people that traditionally hold this position or that have held this position. I'm the first person of color. I'm the youngest person to have this office. I am single. I do not have children. And so understanding that, I know how it could be a little shock and awe when you might, see me out having a couple of cocktails with some friends or, maybe at a rap concert or things of that nature. But I promised myself even before I filed for my candidacy, I would love to do this job. And I have confidence in my ability to do this job. But I cannot and I will not sacrifice every single aspect of my authenticity just to be here. And I promised myself that I wouldn't do it before I ran. When I won, I had to reaffirm that commitment. Listen, logging on to social media and seeing decisions that you make criticized by thousands of people, I would be lying if I said it does not take somewhat of a toll on you.
Yeah.
And so I will never apologize for replenishing myself.
Yeah.
I will never apologize for showing myself care and love and grace and joy and happiness and things that I like to do. I will never apologize for being proud of my gym progress and wanting to post about that.
Yes.
These are things that make me feel whole.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to continue the progress that this office has seen, referrals from law enforcement has increased. Crime in every major category in 2025 decreased. Our charging rates are up. We are making real progress. So, if anybody's listening and if you care to hear me, let's keep the criticisms to the stuff that actually affects your life and let my personal things continue to be mine that are personal.
And again, you are 36.
Right.
And so we all were 36 at one time. We don't want you to stop being 36. It is fair for you to have your journey.
Exactly.
It is very fair. And again, I wanted to bring that up because it is so true. When I became a pastor, people expected me to stop being Kim.
Mm-hmm.
You're a pastor. I'm not being a pastor for you. I'm a servant of God. So God knows who I am.
Exactly.
And I am going to represent him to the fullest, but he purposed me and he made me. And I'm not going to stop being me because you have a certain mindset of what it looks like. As long as I'm doing the job.
Exactly.
And you are absolutely right to be who you are at all times. And if you try to change, you know me though, because you know I will.
Yes. That's where the Mama Kim
That's
comes
where the
in.
Mama Kim, Melesa, Mama Kim here.
Exactly.
But I will say, having that grace, give yourself grace.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this too. With all the stuff that hits you, how do you give all these people grace? Because that's what you do. You and I've had these conversations before. And even when we talk and you affirm who you are, you backside it by giving them grace by saying, I understand.
Yeah.
And so
I think we need more of that in this world. Like we should not expect us all to agree on everything.
Right.
That's just unrealistic.
Yeah.
And then that just robs us from the diverse tapestry that not only this world is, but this country is and various communities are. But I can always, and we should all aspire to this, try to take a step back and at minimum understand how they got there.
Yeah.
Listen, like, I know I have tattoos, and sometimes, like, when I'm out on the weekends, people will look at me and say, like, how could she? She's the prosecutor. Well, just take your step back. Maybe I was not raised like you.
Right.
Maybe we listen to different music. Maybe we have different cultural aspects that speak to our spirit and speak to us. Just take a step back and try to understand. And keeping that train of thought has really helped me provide a level of grace to people that are not often very kind to me. But I also know it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
It's inherent in the job. If you're not doing something, you know, people won't talk about you.
Yeah.
But in this office, the office that I lead, we're doing a lot. And people are going to talk about us.
Absolutely.
Good, bad, or indifferent.
Absolutely.
People are going to talk about the Heartland Black Chamber.
Oh, yes.
But we just bear it down. We continue the work.
Absolutely.
And we understand that, you know, we have to take it in stride.
Definitely have to take it in stride, because if you don't take it in stride, then you will flip out.
Exactly.
And there's no sense in flipping out. I was thinking about being able to say, I'm going to take this and I'm just going to stay focused on what I am here to accomplish. But I'm also going to not give up on my people.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's easy. It could have been real easy to say, yeah, I'm from the 3rd district, but they are. And you never refer to your district as them and you. It is us. And it is a commendable.
Thank you.
Let me say, it is commendable when you can say, I am unapologetically a part of this district. Even with its good, its bad, and its ugly. It is still my stomping grounds, my world, my people, and I am doing my best to make life better for my people.
Exactly. Because the moment that I distance myself from the everyday experiences of people that come from where I come from, that is the moment that this job simply is work and no longer a passion or a calling.
Yeah.
Like, I have to stay organically connected to the experiences of those that do go to sleep to the sound of gunshots regularly, whose kids can't ride the bike to their grandma's house 3 blocks up because you don't know what you're going to roll past, roll over, or roll into, right?
That's right.
And so I can't distance myself from that experience, because that has been and still is my experience. Community is what fuels us. And yes, I had a great education, Ivy League educated, graduated law school at the top of my class. But what has really prepared me for this role is my connection to community. And so even when my own community, I get it the worst from them oftentimes, I can never distance myself, because I know that is from where I harness my power.
Well, and then I look at this too. I'm trying to say this in a proper manner, because sometimes I can be like a little bit too raw. We cannot continue to expect something different and do the same thing.
Amen.
We cannot. We have to be willing in our community. I look at, here I am. I'm not going to tell you how old, but I'm, old. Part of the tail end of the baby boomers. And if you know anything about generations, the baby boomers is the largest generation that lasted. And it's the ones that have held these positions for a very long time and have not let go. But I also realized that the baby boomers have been the ones who forgot that we brought something new to the generation before us.
Mm-hmm.
And there was resistance. There was uncertainty. I've heard myself say before I started really spending time with this next generation, your generation. People say all the time, you spend more time with these 40 and unders than you do your people your own age. Because number one, you guys, there is a plethora. There is so much talent and so much skill and so much education and so many leaders that are standing at the door waiting to come in and take the lead that we won't open, that we have that same problem mindset that the people before us had, was like, no, they're not ready. They're not ready. They're not ready. But there's going to come a time that either we can open the door and start helping you in the door, or be gone when the door swing open and leave them scrambling, trying to pick up pieces that they could have already understood.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, I'm a huge believer in you have to be coachable.
Yeah.
And I think, frankly, that is kind of a call to action for my demographic, for my age group. Listen, I know that we have different experiences and the world has changed from, when our ancestors were here and even our elders. And we think that we've made it, that we know everything.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Like we can navigate.
We did too.
It's probably a marquee of every generation.
Every generation. I'm telling you, we thought that we had it all. We understood. See, I came up through the Black Power. Ungawa Black Power. Look, I am proud to be Black. James Brown, I'm Black and I'm proud. I came through that era and I understood that we knew what to do because our parents and our grandparents had been through the Jim Crow and some of the other racial issues. You're right. But I look at us now and, even though I think I'm a little savvy, you see, I did my little technology up there, but the things that you understand and know how to navigate through, the things that the way the world is going, if we don't open the door and start handing you what we have so that you can take what we have and connect it to what you know, because this innovation in technology and things that I don't even want to know all that. I'm going to tell you right now.
AI is terrifying.
It is.
AI is literally terrifying. But, that is something that really my grandmother instilled in me. It's you stand on somebody's shoulders.
Yeah. And somebody's going to stand on yours.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So hold space for that.
Yeah.
Because if we don't succession plan.
Yeah.
We don't make sure that, we have a trajectory for our community's advancement that outlives us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that is so important to this world, but it's especially important to Black people.
Yeah.
Especially.
So let me throw something else at you. And I know we're getting ready to wind down because I think I've been going a little while here. Investment.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big issues that I found when I came into this seat and I started to understand, and it's taken me, I'll be in this seat now, this 2018, in 2 years, will be in sit in this seat for 10 years. 10 years has gone fast.
Wow.
So this is 2026. I started this in 2018. And over the period of time, I'm learning. One of the things that I learned being in this seat, we have forgotten about investment, not just dollar investment, our time, our talent, and our treasure. We walk into a room with our hands out saying, we want, you owe me. However, we have forgotten, and we'll talk about how our people died for us,
Mm-hmm.
but we're not willing to do what they did to make sure that it does get passed down, that we do have opportunities. And if you look at America now, it's going in the opposite direction. What do you say to our community about the need for investment, the need to buckle down and say, we want control of the economic power in our community, and we need to know what we need to do? And I know part of it is investment. What would you say?
You know, I definitely agree in economic investment. I mean, listen, it's a tale that's old as time. Communities that are well-resourced, that have well-functioning schools, that have grocery stores with fresh produce, that have, entertainment and productive places for kids to go during the summer months, they historically and traditionally have substantially less crime. And so while I will always believe in the need for economic investment, we also have to think about our personal investment as well. If you see something, you got to say something.
Yes.
We have to reframe this whole notion and culture of snitching. It's not snitching if you didn't have anything to do with it. Actually, it's you reclaiming control and reclaiming dominion over your community and finally letting your actions align with the words enough is enough. It's investment in, volunteering at the school, being a mentor for the juvenile justice system. Because the reality is a lot of the kids that have matriculated through that process don't have a positive affiliation with an adult in their natural ecosystem. It's about your personal investment that has to marry the economic investment. We have organizations like yours leading the charge on the economic piece, but we are trying a couple of innovative ways in my office to try to really spur the personal investment. But until we establish a code of conduct amongst one another and make that personal investment a prerequisite to participating in our society, we're going to stay in this vicious cycle. And so I would love to see a world where we have young people, specifically young Black men, that are saying, listen, we don't allow that type of behavior around us. If you want to be posting on social media, and I know I'm not speaking regular English right now or proper English,
it's not,
but we're talking.
We're talking. That's right.
We're talking. If you're posting guns and stuff on social media, that's not really the type of company I'm looking to keep. Right? Like, if you are terrorizing my grandmother's block, I don't really have time or any love for you. Until we get there, which requires a lot of personal investment.
It does.
We are going to continue this vicious cycle of tearing our own neighborhoods apart. Now, listen, we can walk and chew gum. We can have two conversations at the same time. We have a lot of personal investment problems that we need to work on. But trust me, it's not lost on me how difficult that personal investment has become due to centuries of systemic racism and disinvestment. We can have both of those conversations at the same time. But until we grab the reins, grab our children, grab our friends, grab our associates, and really make it clear we're not for that, we're going to have a tough time progressing. But I believe in us. I really, really do.
Well, I believe in us too. I will say this, and I just want to throw this out here. Systemic racism has been around since way before any of us. It's never changed. And we can either sit down and keep crying about it, or we can get up and do something about it. And in doing something about it, meaning we have to invest in ourselves. We have to invest in ourselves. We cannot expect a system that we're saying is set up for us to fail to keep going back to that system to say you're supposed to make us succeed, help us to succeed. So I'm going to hate to stop this conversation, but you're always going to be coming back. This is just the first of many.
Yes, whenever you need me.
I think that it's really, really important that we understand that being a part of a community, being a part of the Kansas City fabric, if we want to be at the table, we need to set a table. And our table needs to be inviting. And if we invite who we want to be included with, then they're included and we're included. We don't have to wait for an invitation. Melesa, I love you, and I'm not probably supposed to say that, but it's too bad I said it. It's my show. I'm the host.
I love you too.
And I want to say that I'm very, very proud of you. I'm proud of the work you're doing. I know it might not be popular to some people, but the people it's not popular to, well, I'm sorry. That's because you haven't done your research and you have not uh, really wanted to invest in the community. So I want to say this. If I see it, I done had stitches before, so I ain't scared of stitches. And I don't fear nothing but God. So at the end of the day, God's going to be with you and you're doing a good job. And I'm so proud that you're not allowing it to affect who you are. Just keep being you. We want to thank her for all that she's doing, and let me know what it is that we can do to be in partnership with your office. I've been talking to you a little bit on the side about an entrepreneurship program for returning citizens, whether they're juvenile or adults. But I'd like to do it out of the prosecutor's office instead of trying to create another organization, but something that we can really work on.
Let's get to work. And thank you so much for your pride. Like, you have no idea how much that means to me.
Oh my God.
We're keeping on working.
Yes, look, I get to tell everybody, I know the prosecutor and I know the mayor of KCK. These are my friends. These are people that I can pick up and call and go and have a cocktail with. Yes, the pastor has a cocktail. Thanks again for coming. Thank you for watching Straight from the Heart. I want to say thank you to my production team, AGA, who are always on top. They take care of me. We have a fantastic show. We look good, and it's all because of them. Again, thank you, my audience, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again on Straight from the Heart.